Welcome back to New Venture Mentor. I'm Kate Costa, and this week we're talking about millennials and entrepreneurship. I hope you'll stick with me for a minute here, because today's episode is going to be a bit longer than usual, and it isn't like your typical NVM episode. It does, however, seek to get you thinking honestly about whether you're ready for the realities of entrepreneurship. Fair warning, Debbie Downer alert. In case you're unsure, I am a millennial. I'm definitely at the older end of the generation, and I wouldn't say I wear the millennial badge with any particular pride or honor, but I don't wear it with shame either. Now, I say we're talking about millennials and entrepreneurship this week, but we're really talking about entrepreneurship in general. What millennials are accused of so often is true of the vast majority of aspiring entrepreneurs across all age groups, and that's a misguided belief that you're somehow special and therefore deserving of great success. Depending on whom you ask, millennials are those born in or after either 1980, 81, or 82. It seems nobody has really decided on the end of the generation yet either, but as many of these millennials clearly have started having kids of their own at this point, somebody really needs to get on naming that generation that follows us. Anyway, a lot has been said about our generation. Apparently we're spoiled, entitled, lazy, and believe we're all special snowflakes and deserve to be rewarded greatly for merely existing. We grew up with our parents protecting us from the evil outside world, and we received trophies just for showing up to the competition, even if we were terrible and came in dead last. And that is why we now suck, apparently, at least according to some. Basically, the older generations think we're brats. Even my boyfriend, who by many definitions is in fact a millennial himself, as he was born in 1981, loves to trash talk the millennial generation and will vehemently deny he's a member of it because he doesn't want to be associated with the rest of us narcissists. I'm probably going to get sucked into a 20-minute argument about this tonight, actually, once he's read this post, because he won't take kindly to my public accusation that he is a millennial. While there are certainly aspects of this brattiness that may be present in millennials, I would argue that that has more to do with the fact that we are the youngest professionals out there. I mean, we're talking about a generation that is, for the most part, in their teens and 20s right now. Weren't you all brats in your teens and 20s too? Come on. The way I see it, we've been at war for our entire adult lives. Next year will mark as much of my life being lived in a post-9/11 world as in a pre-9/11 world. We've suffered the fallout of the Great Recession for most, if not all, of our professional careers, and despite being the most educated generation ever, we're drowning in the debt we had to take on to pay for those educations because we're still so hugely underemployed. The boomers who raised us to believe that we could be anything we wanted to be love to tell us that life is tough and get over it, that we should feel lucky to have a job that requires zero brain power and doesn't pay us enough to cover our student loans, let alone our rent and our student loans, but requires a master's degree. Well, perhaps we're brats, but many of us have started to call bullshit on that. And that brings me back to entrepreneurship. Given the craptastic job market millennials have been faced with since we entered the workforce, it's not tough to understand why 71% of millennials at regular jobs would prefer to quit and work for themselves. While I do eventually plan to head back to the normal workforce, I built my own business because it was the only way for me to make anything resembling a reasonable amount of money while still being able to truly enjoy my work and my life. The flexibility to travel the world as I do was also quite the perk that would have been absent, obviously, from a standard job. Am I a millennial princess to think that I shouldn't have to work 80 hours a week at a job I don't enjoy in order to be able to save some cash or buy a house? Maybe, but that's neither here nor there. So, let's finally get back to the title of this post. Millennials, if you think you deserve better than your day job and you want to start your own business, I completely understand and I support you. However, you probably have a bloated sense of self-worth by virtue of the fact that you're part of this generation, so it's important to note that you're not alone in this desire, and it's unlikely that you're bored at work because you're way smarter than everyone else and will therefore succeed overnight when you launch your own business. It's much more likely that you're bored at work because your work is boring. Barriers to entry for launching a business are indeed lower than ever due to technology, but those barriers of entry aren't just low for you, they're low for everyone. So that means massive competition and the need for you to figure out a way to truly be a special snowflake. Your amazing business idea is almost certainly not one of a kind. Your crushing student loan debt will not go away when your paycheck does. And if your business doesn't succeed, you won't get a ribbon just for trying. Instead, you'll probably have an even harder time than what you had before trying to find a job, because now employers think you're either a failure or will quit to start another venture, or both. Remember, there are no participation trophies in entrepreneurship, and you are not a special snowflake. By all means, follow your entrepreneurial drive, but remember to do so the right way by properly developing your idea and creating a plan for your business before you risk it all on the belief that you'll succeed because you somehow deserve to succeed. We're millennials. We grew up with technology, so we should be sure to put it to use to help us get the information we need to successfully build a business before we get too deep in. Do some market analysis, find out who your competition is, figure out how much a real marketing plan would cost you to implement. You get the idea. Google is your friend. That's it for this week here on New Venture Mentor. This wasn't the typical format, but worry not, traditionalists. I'll be back to the typical NVM next week. If you liked this video though, please let me know by giving me a big thumbs up here on YouTube, and be sure to subscribe to my channel and to my email newsletter so you always get the latest tips and info to help you successfully plan, launch, and grow your new business. Oh yeah, and since you'll likely not make much, if anything, your first year in business, even if you do eventually succeed, check out this article from my favorite millennial basher, aka my boyfriend, about how to use your year without an income as a tax strategy.